So they've surrounded it. They've put it under siege for over 750 days, or coming up to 750 days.
Wow.
They're trying to starve the population. And then what happens is there's family members that are outside of El-Fasher who've got their wife, their sister, their mom there. When they try to get food there, RSF are policing the area, they capture them, and then that's where you see these horrendous videos where they tie people up to trees, shoot them, execute them, make them beg for life and then execute them. It's atrocious. The way for this war is to end is we need to defeat the RSF. We need to put pressure on the U.A.E. to stop funding, arming, giving logistical support through its base in Somalia to the RSF.
Last time we spoke, was it 2 months ago?
Yeah.
When I went home, I was like, oh my God, Ahmed is Sudanese. And we didn't talk about Sudan. We talked about Haiti, we talked about Congo, we talked about Traore. We didn't talk about Sudan.
Yeah.
And today we have to spend time on this Sudan issue. You saw the interview I did with Suad. And I think the thing that made me be like, no, I need to put a lot of pressure on this is when I saw that woman hanging from a tree. I was like, no, this can't happen. For people who don't know, how did this Sudan issue start?
Oh, it's a good question. It's a very good question. I'm going to have to give a real historical overview. So it might be a bit long, but I think it's important because not many people ask that question and it's a fundamental question. So, Sudan under the Bashir regime, Omar al-Bashir, the former dictator.
Yes.
I think it was ranked as the greatest disparity between the capital cities, the center, and the peripheries. Yeah? We see the same in Nairobi. You go outside of Nairobi, very little development.
Very.
But in Sudan, it was that on steroids, yeah? Little to no development
So
outside.
out of Khartoum?
Yes, out of what they call the tri-state capital, which is Khartoum State, which includes Bahri, Omdurman, and Khartoum City.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was, you know, we can call it racism, we can call it tribalism, we can call it ethnic discrimination, whatever we call it. The people from those regions were also excluded from positions of power. Yeah.
Okay.
Which also led to the two republics. Yeah. So I could go way back. So it started during the Ottoman years. The Ottomans were the first to colonize Sudan. And then it was exacerbated during the British Egyptian colonial period. So Britain enlisted Egypt to partner them in the colonization of Sudan. Yeah. And they introduced this thing called the sovereign rule. People from the south weren't allowed to go to the north. People from the north weren't allowed to go to the south. The north would be administrated in Arabic, the south in English. The north, the public holiday would be on a Friday, the south on a Sunday. Yeah. All of the development was in the north. Hardly any development in the south. The little bit of development was done by Christian missionaries. So they were trying to plant the seeds of division, yeah, so they could continue to dominate and eat off Sudan. Because during the British Empire, so much of the agricultural production was coming from Sudan, a place called Al Jazeera State, yeah. But also in other parts like Darfur, no development. In places like Kordofan, no development, yeah. And to instrument this policy, they played into racial divisions, yeah? Who's Arab, who's not Arab, which is strange because when you look at Sudanese people, most of the time you see black people, yeah? So they use this thing, which has been written about in regards to the Irish question in the UK, called racial imagery. So when people are the same color, you use racial signifiers to show that they're different.
Colorism.
Not just colorism. Colorism is obviously part of it. Colorism is definitely part of it because South Sudanese people are significantly darker
Yes.
than North Sudanese. But other things like hair, nose,
Okay.
features, yeah? So in Ireland, they used to say the Irish had different ears than the English, yeah?
Oh.
They had different hair. Their hair was jet black, yeah? And they used to call the Irish the Negroes of Europe, yeah?
Oh.
Similar in Italy. The people in the south of Italy, because southern Italy is across the sea from North Africa, they used to go, these people are descendant from Africa, yeah? Even though they're all white. So I'm using these
Is that
examples.
why they call them?
Yeah, no, this is what they call when they went to America.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's discrimination between northern Italy and southern Italy to this day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when AC Milan and Juventus play Napoli, they sing racist songs to them. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just trying. I use those examples to explain to you how the same thing can happen in Sudan. And in Sudan, people try to overemphasize their Arab identity. My great-great-grandfather came from Saudi Arabia. Some of the times it's true, most of the time it's not. This comes from the Ottoman period, where the what's his name? The viceroy of the Ottoman Empire, a guy called Muhammad Ali, who was of Albanian descent. When they first occupied Sudan, the first thing that they did was, we're going to tax the non-Muslims, yeah? When they realized they weren't getting enough tax, they switched it to, we're going to tax the anybody that is not Arab, yeah? Of course, very few people have Arab ancestry, yeah? So what happens is a form of survival, you start emphasizing
That I have. Okay,
exactly.
Okay.
Much like in Jamaica, in Jamaica, everyone claims to be of Indian descent. Oh, my great-grandfather is Indian. That's why my hair is there. Most of the time, it's BS. It's just about getting privilege within the society, yeah? People call it proximity to whiteness. People call it proximity to Arabness. The closer you are to a group, the better you do. We see it here on the coast, yeah? In Kenya. We see it on the coast. I couldn't believe it when I went to the coast. And people are calling themselves Sultan this and Sultan that. Yeah? It's the same crap. It's the same crap. Anyway, I'm going to bring it to the modern because I know I've gone on a bit of a diversion.
Okay.
So when the National Islamic Front and the National Congress Party in Sudan, which is ran by Omar al-Bashir, when they started to hear grievances from the Blue Nile region, the Nuba Mountains and Darfur, instead of addressing those regions, they played into the differences between the communities there, yeah? So they backed self-identified nomadic Arab tribes, yeah? They backed them in Darfur because they had, as a result of climate change, the nomadic tribes which used to move here, move there, come back here. Now the tribes from Darfur who are settled in that region, when they come back, they said, no, you can't graze here, yeah? Because of competition, because before where the grazing ground was plentiful, now it's becoming limited, yeah?
Okay.
So there's natural fights that happen between these communities, yeah?
Okay.
The Sudanese army, run by Omar al-Bashir, used those grievances and started to pump money, arms, towards these nomadic Arab tribes who formed into what we call the Janjaweed, yeah? Which means devil in horseback, yeah? So,
But why?
because now you don't have to address the grievances, yeah? So instead of having a rebellion from Darfur, which is the size of France geographically,
Yeah, it's big.
you can have a rebellion that can threaten your power in Khartoum. You do the divide and rule thing that the British did, yeah?
So, it just solidify his political survival.
Exactly. So they used the Janjaweed to push down any form of uprising from Darfur and did it brutally. So basically, arming and funding a genocide that happened in Darfur between 2002, 2003.
I remember, it was crazy.
So while the Janjaweed are armed with the latest weapons, AK-47s, all these other modern weaponry, the Sudanese army are giving them support from the sky. These African tribes, I say so-called, not because they're not African tribes, but to me, they're all African tribes.
Of course.
Yeah? These African tribes have no chance. Yeah? So many of them had to leave their homes. One of the biggest Darfuri communities live in Birmingham, where my family live in the UK. So I know this story very well. Yeah? Then, after they crush the rebellion, Bashir now uses them to crush any rebellion. So the grievance that's happening in Nuba Mountains, for the same reason, Bashir sends the Janjaweed to crush the people there. Similar results. The army's fighting from the sky, the Janjaweed's fighting from the ground. The Blue Nile, yeah? And of course, there's a racial dynamic because these regions are the darker regions of Sudan.
Yes.
Yeah, you can tell, yeah? And of course, South Sudan split. So it made the economic situation in Sudan much harsher.
Okay.
Because between 70 to 75% of the oil reserves went with South. So while Bashir could use the oil to do a little bit of development in the north and steal the rest, now he's just stealing because he doesn't have that much money. Yeah. So now there's protests happening in Khartoum because now the problem isn't just happening in the peripheries, it's now happening in the center. So what does Bashir do? He brings the Janjaweed to Khartoum to crush down the protests, yeah? Because it's easier to use people that are from Darfur who have no affiliation with the villages and the people of Khartoum state, and they'll shoot people, no questions asked. So he brought them in 2013, 2014. And then in 2018, when the revolution really gets going.
Yeah, I remember that one. It was huge.
He brings them again, yeah? But by this point, the revolution's so big that the army realizes they have to sacrifice Bashir for them to maintain control.
Okay.
Yeah? General al-Burhan, the leader of the armed forces now, he says, after killing protesters, so on June the 3rd, they massacred around 130 protesters who were at a sit-in, dropped them in the River Nile. Women, this is the RSF. Yeah, the Janjaweed became the RSF.
So it morphed into the RSF.
Yes. So sorry, I skipped a part.
Yeah.
So after the Janjaweed was so successful,
yes,
he tried to make them a professional outfit. Sorry.
Okay.
And then with the intention of bringing it into the army, but he didn't want to bring it into the army because he heard rumors that the army, to get in the West is good books, might remove him. But keep the system the same, yeah? So what he thought is, if I have this private militia of 100,000 men, the army won't dare to overthrow me because they're gonna have this 100,000 men that will protect me, yeah? Even the word Hemeti comes from my protector. So it was a nickname that Bashir gave Hemeti as my protector. What he didn't envision was the RSF would join forces with the armed forces and do a coup against him together.
Okay.
Yeah? But then after the coup, Burhan, he formed something called the Sovereign Council, and he makes Hemeti his number 2. Yeah? So he's the chief of the Sovereign Council.
Okay.
Hemeti's number 2. But then now there's a tension. So you have an army of 150,000 men, and you have a private militia of 100,000 men, all within the capital city. You can feel the tension because these are greedy generals, yeah? They've divided the spoils of the country. The Sudanese army controls all the industry, import, exports, agriculture, factories, everything, rubber tires, everything. The RSF controls the gold mines, yeah, that primarily exist in Darfur, yeah? But Hemeti is a very ambitious person, yeah? He thinks, I can become president of the whole of Sudan, yeah? He's backed by the U.A.E. This is where it gets interesting. So when Sudan was looking for some money after the South split, the UAE and Saudi Arabia said to them, we can get you back in the good books of the West. We can pay you if you provide foot soldiers for our Saudi UAE-led war on Yemen. So while the Saudis and the UAE are bombing from the sky, the Sudanese people
On the ground.
dying, dying. But while that war happened, there's a division between the Saudis and the UAE, The UAE have their man, which is Hemeti. The Saudis have their man, which was Burhan, who was leading the armed forces there.
Okay.
In Egypt have their man, which is Burhan. So the UAE are very interested in this port on Sudan. The Red Sea is one of the most fiercely contested strips of water anywhere in the world. Because it's right next to the Suez Canal. It's right next to the Gulf of Aden. So much of international shipping traffic goes through there. If you control the Red Sea, you can kind of control so much of international trade.
Wow.
So when the Yemenis are saying, until the genocide stops in Palestine, we're gonna stop ships from going through that bit. It for a period, it crippled the international market. So the UAE is desperate to get control of that. It's also desperate to control the gold. So Sudan exports very little gold officially. Illegally, it's one of the biggest exporters in the world, and so much of that gold ends up in Dubai, and some of these wealthy Indians, wealthy Arabs go there and they buy their big bracelets and earrings for their wives. There's a thriving gold market, which is built off the back of Sudanese civilians that have been killed. So that is how the war started. However, now that the war has moved on, even though I hold the Sudanese army responsible, because had they have not created the RSF, had they not created the Janjaweed, had they not tried to form the Janjaweed into the RSF, had they not brought the RSF into Khartoum, had they not used the RSF in the Nuba Mountains, in the Darfur, we wouldn't be in this mess, So I hold them principally responsible. However, the fight right now is against the RSF. Despite that contradiction.
So there's some dirt on both sides.
There's some dirt on both sides. However, it's morphed into a new independence struggle. So I had a debate with my dad on camera about this, because my dad is like, he's been imprisoned by the Sudanese army. He has a lot of grievances against the Sudanese army. So he still comes with the both sides perspective. I've moved on from that. And now I say, yes, the Sudanese army is ultimately responsible. But right now, the way that Sudanese people are going to have to go home, the way for this war is to end, is we need to defeat the RSF. We need to put pressure on the UAE to stop funding, arming, giving logistical support through its base in Somalia to the RSF. The UAE is enlisting Colombian mercenaries to go fight in the RSF. The Colombian mercenaries are training kids on how to use guns to fight for the RSF. So this is a new war for independence.
Colombia is also in?
Colombia is also involved. So there's a lot of hypocrisy there, because Gustavo Petro, who's getting a lot of plaudits for what he's saying in regards to Palestine.
I saw him.
He gave, when the first group of Colombian mercenaries were found fighting in Sudan, he apologized and said, we apologize, we're going to get to the bottom of this. It's been 7 months and more Colombian mercenaries have ended up in the war in Sudan. So I'm not saying he's sending them. I don't think he is. But he needs to do more to stop it. They're coming from your country. Do something. You're giving all these fantastic speeches in regard to Palestine. Do something to stop these mercenaries flooding into my country and killing my countrymen and using children of war as soldiers.
How bad is it? How bad is so wait. Before we go to how bad is it? explain to people how the gold smuggling works. So and how, gold buys the weapons, and how, just explain to us how the UAE basically is behind the RSF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sadly, the UAE has so much influence in East Africa right now. So much influence. They're backing Abiy Ahmed in Ethiopia.
Oh.
They're backing Chad, Uganda, Kenya. So all of these places are being used as a transit to get the gold in, and as a transit to get the weapons in.
Mm-hmm.
So the a Sudanese general said to Chad, unless you stop these weapons coming in to the RSF through the Chad-Sudan border, we're gonna bomb your airport, which is an extreme thing to say, yeah? And I don't wanna see war between African countries, but I understand why he's saying it, yeah? If these collaborator states, South Sudan as well is also being accused right now. If these collaborator states stop this, then the UAE is gonna have a very difficult time from getting these weapons to the RSF. Libya as well, they support General Haftar in Libya. So through the Libyan border, weapons are going through. So there are all these states. Kenya.
Really?
Yes, that's why.
We just have to be in the mess,
Of course.
Kenya's like, come on, man.
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know how true this is, but our comrade Booker from the Kenyan Communist Party, he said during the Gen Z uprising that there was RSF soldiers were being used to put down some of the protests. Because of this problem of when a Kenyan police officer kills somebody, and there's so many Kenyans that get upset about this, and the Kenyan police officer ends up in court, they were struggling to find Kenyan police to continue to do this. So they got some RSF soldiers to do these extrajudicial killings. Now, of course, I can't verify this because there's not many reports in the Kenyan press for obvious reasons. But Booker is deeply, deeply entrenched with these protests.
Yes.
So if he says that, I have no doubt to disbelieve it.
That's why they came to Nairobi. Was it last year, beginning of this year?
It was the end of last year to form the transit, and there've been many times.
I was discussing. I was like, how can we do this?
Yeah, because it's benefiting them. It's getting them in the good books between a very wealthy Gulf Arab state, the UAE, and also they're benefiting from some of the gold, which I'm sure William Ruto will use to get himself re-elected in 2027. Yeah, there are many. We know, to explain to people that might live outside the continent, money wins elections. Yeah, that's why every election they devalue the Kenyan shilling. Yeah, am I right in saying that? They devalue the Kenyan shilling because they're the ones that control the value of these things. So they have their dollars, they devalue the Kenyan shilling, they exchange their dollars for the Kenyan shilling. When they win, they bring the Kenyan shilling back down. Yeah? You remember, soon after William Ruto was elected, the Kenyan shilling was,
It was like what?
Once it got to 165.
Yeah.
It got to 165. What is it now?
129.
129.
I checked it this morning.
129.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Because he used the cash,
to fund his campaigns.
to fund his campaign, and now he brings it back because obviously you can't keep the Kenyan shilling at 165, otherwise there'll be mass protests bigger than what we've got. So that's one of the reasons. Another thing is gold. Gold is at an all-time high right now. Yeah.
Oh wow!
And it's easy access to cash.
It's at 4,200 now in the stock market.
By the time it gets to the elections, it will be even higher. Yeah. Not saying that William Ruto controls the gold international price. He doesn't. But a lot of people are benefiting from the gold price right now. Yeah. A lot of people are benefiting from the illicit gold being smuggled, not just out of Sudan, the whole African continent, but right now primarily out of Sudan. And I've spoken to Sudanese journalists. They say there's a whole operation of how this happens. Yeah, they can arrive in the Dubai International Airport with 2 gold bricks yeah, and someone will just wave them past because not their whole economy, because the UAE is a rich state, but they're benefiting largely from this illicit gold smuggling. And it's not going to stop until there's international pressure. So where do we have leverage? We can say boycott the UAE, which we should. We could say stop going to the UAE, which we should. That's one aspect. But the truth is, the US President, Donald Trump, could make one phone call and stop this. There's so many, 40 million Africans, probably more that if you include the African migrants, live in the US, yeah? If they demanded from their congressman, from their senator, from the US President, you need to stop this, it will stop, yeah?
There's an act right now in Parliament, in Congress. I don't know if it's in the Senate or in Congress, but Suad was the one who informed me about it.
Yeah.
So African Americans go to, is it decolonizesudan.org, see the name of that act and pressure your local congressmen and congresswomen to pass it. It's an act to stop.
Yes.
Because US is funding UAE.
Yes.
And UAE is now of course funding the reserve.
And these Gulf monarchies, like I said, they don't have truly independent foreign policy. Anything they do, it's with the permission of the former imperialist power of the United Kingdom and the current world imperialist power of the United States. They wouldn't do any of this unless they were given permission. And I think they want to see Sudan divided. They want to see Sudan weakened because the Sudanese army right now is making some alliances that the US is not very comfortable with. Yeah, Algeria is supplying the Sudanese army via Russia with some fighter jets. Yeah, so how it works is Russia's providing new fighter jets to Algeria. Algeria's offsetting its old fighter jets to Sudan. They're getting drones from Turkey. They're getting drones from Iran. So they're not happy with the direction. And Sudan has always been a flip-floppy state in terms of alliances, yeah? So one minute they're making deals with China, another minute they're with the Saudis, another minute with Qatar. The US doesn't like countries that they can't rely on. So they want to make sure that Sudan is divided, Sudan is weakened, and that they're literally begging for the US to save them. And when the US saves them, every position of power is somebody that's going to act within their interest.
Damn. This Sudan thing is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's so now let's go to how bad is it? Because I saw what's happening in El-Fasher now is probably the worst thing that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
How bad is it?
Because
I spoke to Suad and I was telling her, why is there not a exact amount of people that are reported dead and displaced? You know, I Googled and I saw that it was 150 people dead, but then other people are saying 800,000. Why is there, so how bad is it and why is there no exact amount of people who are dead and displaced in Sudan right now? And also comment on El-Fasher because it's crazy.
Yeah. So what's happening there is it's the last place which is not under RSF control in that region, which is kind of the Darfur state region, North Darfur in particular. So they've surrounded it. They've put it under siege for over 750 days, or coming up to 750 days.
Wow.
They're trying to starve the population. And then what happens is there's family members that are outside of El-Fasher who've got their wife, their sister, their mom there. When they try to get food there, RSF are policing the area. They capture them. And then that's where you see these horrendous videos where they tie people up to trees, shoot them, execute them, make them beg for life and then execute them. It's atrocious. It's atrocious. And it's why the Sudanese army has committed crimes. And I don't want to expunge them of their crimes, but it pales in comparison to what the RSF are doing. So that's why when when people are saying this both side things, it's not applicable. What the RSF doing right now is genocidal. Yeah, it's genocidal. They're trying to cleanse the tribes that are not aligned to the tribes that initially formed the Janjaweed back in 2002. Yeah, and it's just, the thing that bothers me so much about it is there's no shame. So the video you mentioned about the woman tied to the tree, the video ends with the RSF soldier doing a selfie.
I saw that.
No
Crazy.
shame. No shame. That can only happen when you dehumanize somebody. He feels no shame. He doesn't see the person as equal to him because of the decades of racism that was needed from the Darfur genocide onwards. So it's atrocious. We don't know the numbers because it's very difficult for people to get in and out. Yeah. So humanitarian organizations, they're not there. International organizations, they're not there. The only people that are helping Sudan right now are Sudanese people, what we call community kitchens or resistance committees. Yeah. Brave young people, revolutionary young people that have stayed behind and try to use their access to the outside world to get funds. Me and my father are fundraising for a community kitchen in North Khartoum to get people support, to get people the means to build a water well and to make sure that it's solar paneled because their electricity keeps cutting off. But that's it. The amount of aid that's needed for Sudan, I think, I need to get this number right. It's around 1/8 has been raised, yeah? So the international organizations are not raising the money. People are not raising the money. People are not giving to Sudan, unfortunately, apart from Sudanese diaspora. It's a dire situation. And I think it's just, we've never been in a situation this bad before. So it's just not automatic what you're meant to do. I'm not blaming the people, but in Gaza, when a child's legs get blown off, they're obviously attending to them, but there's somebody that gets their camera phone because they know this image, as bad as it is, helps our case. Yeah. So in Sudan, there's been some terrible videos that have come out, but a lot of them are coming out from RSF filming themselves. Yeah.
Why is it not from the other side?
I think because it is coming, but it's not automatic because we're not used to this situation.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a video that I saw of a mom eating insects because, you know, there's no food and someone filmed. But Sudanese people, by and large, we don't want to film people at their worst, at their most desperate situation. Yeah. It's just a collective pride thing. But of course, it's important to get the message out. Yeah.
Yes.
And please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to blame the people for not getting these videos out. I'm just trying to contextualize why you're not seeing as many videos as you are from say places like Gaza. Because I'm saying that to say there is just as much, if not more, suffering. Yeah. It's just we haven't got the videos out in the way that we should because this is a relatively new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people are really thinking about surviving more than filming.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly. But it's a terrible situation. The numbers are atrocious. As I said earlier, over 6 million people are at stage 5 famine. Yeah.
Damn. Is that like
it's the worst. It's the worst. It means stage 5 means even if you get them food, the long-term health implications of this are still going to be there. Yeah. Even when you're at stage 5, even if you get them food in front of them, they still might die. Yeah, that's how bad it is because the body's taken such a beating.
Yeah.
Yeah. More than half the country are at acute hunger. Yeah. The displacement, we have close to 13 million, some people say 14 million people displaced. It's atrocious. And some of the people that are leaving, so there was a terrible story of people that tried to leave El-Fasher and then they got stuck in a mudslide just outside. and over 1,000 people perished. So our people can't catch any luck at the moment.
So what's the population of Sudan?
The population before the war was around 40, 45 million. Yeah. I don't know what the population is now.
So if let's say 14 million people are displaced, if I do my quick math, that's a third of the country.
And more than half, over 23 million, are facing acute hunger. So more than half. We don't know how many people have been killed as well. So researchers said 60,000 in Khartoum state alone.
Oh.
Yeah. The former US special envoy said 150,000 as of last year. That was his estimate. Yeah. I think the real number is going to be in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. We've got nobody that is counting how many people are being killed. So only when the war's done, and the war looks like there's no sign of letting up anytime soon, will we really know. So the Sudanese army, they did make some gains because of this international backing that they were getting from Turkey, Russia, Algeria.
They managed to reclaim some territories. Yeah?
Yes, so they managed to reclaim the center. They already controlled Port Sudan. They managed to reclaim Al Jazeera state, which was under RSF control from nearly the beginning of the war. They managed to reclaim Khartoum state, which is very symbolic, yeah, because that's the capital. But what's happened is all of the RSF have retreated to the Darfur region. So the concern is we're going to get this Libya-style partition, yeah, of the country, and we can't accept that. We can't accept that. There's the international community, which calls itself, I think, the Quad, which is Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the U.A.E, and the U.S. have come with this peace plan. And there's good parts of it and there's terrible parts of it. The terrible part of it, of course, is how can the U.A.E be part of a peace plan when they could stop this immediately?
Yeah.
But it talks about both parties as if they're the same. The Sudanese army, despite all of its problems, is the national army. The RSF is a gun for hire militia. Yeah. So they can't be treated as the same. And now it worries me that any peace talk that talks about them as if they're two equal entities will just lead to the partition, which obviously would be hell for, especially for the people that are still under RSF control.
Is there hope? Because you know me, I'm sick. Like, why do you have the AU? You know, like you know what I call the AU. AU is one of those bodies that just condemns.
Yeah.
We condemn what's happening in Sudan. We condemn what's happening in Congo.
It's toothless.
Condemn.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah, it's toothless.
There needs to be some mobilization going on.
But how do you mobilize? Here's the problem. When so many African states are complicit, how do you mobilize? Let's say you put forward a motion in the AU. Who's going to reject it? Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, Chad. Yeah? So this is why it's morphing into a regional proxy war. Yeah? Egypt, Sudan on one side, Algeria on one side, and then all these other countries on the other side. Then you mix into it the Grand Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia. Ethiopia obviously has beef with Egypt over it. Sudan sides with Egypt over the dam. It's a whole mess.
That Nile River beef, huh?
Yeah, it's a whole mess. So yeah, I'm a hopeful. There was a little bit of hope when the Sudanese army reclaimed, these places, but now it seems like we're moving back into the partition stage. So really, the only hope that we've got comes from the diaspora, and then putting serious pressure on the US to put serious pressure on the U.A.E. The U.A.E stops the funds and the drone equipments and all that other stuff, the logistical support from their base in Somalia. This war ends within a matter of months.
Simple. But they can't do it because they're getting a lot of money from this.
Yeah, exactly.
All the gold. Oh man. And Hemedi is he one of the richest people in Sudan, or is he the richest?
Yeah. Who knows? Because there's so many. People say that he is the richest. Some people say that he's one of the richest. We know he's very rich. That's what he's very, very rich. But it was Bashir that made him one of the richest people in Sudan. He thought by making him one of the richest people in Sudan, he could buy his loyalty. But thieves are not loyal to anything apart from money. Yeah. So as soon as someone's paying them more, they flip and they do a coup against you.
Speaking of Bashir, where is he now?
Yeah. So this is another problem. If the RSF is defeated, we will have, I use the quotation marks, peace, yeah? But it'll be a very weak and fragile peace because we'll just move back to the military dictatorship, yeah? Replacing Bashir with al-Burhan. Bashir was put in Koba prison, a place that my father was detained, but pretty much soon after he was moved out of the prison. They said for health reasons, oh, we need to give him medical attention. It's better if he gets medical attention outside the prison. The rumors are he's been free, roaming around for a long time.
Yeah.
It's just not the Sudanese people's main priority right now. But it just shows that.
So he's with him?
He's within the Sudanese armed forces controlled territory.
Oh, me, I'm thinking he's in, I don't know, somewhere in
maybe
Bahamas or Cuba or whatever.
He could very easily be in Egypt. Who knows? What we do know is he's not imprisoned. That's for certain. That's for certain. But yeah, there's no, here's the thing. There's no perfect situation out of this. There's just the least terrible situation. So defeat the RSF. We'll have the military control things until there's another revolution. But it's definitely better than genocide that we're seeing right now.
When was the last time you've been to Sudan, by the way?
I was there in 2021, just before, a couple of years before the war. I did a documentary, which made me look like an oracle that I could read the future.
On African Stream, huh?
I did it actually for my previous employer.
Oh, okay.
But I reposted it on African Stream before African Stream got taken down.
Okay.
I think it's on my own personal page now. It was called Sudan, the Unfinished Revolution, Part 1 and Part 2. And in there, I explained that these two generals are not going to allow Sudan to have a real revolution. And as predicted, the two generals have not allowed Sudan to have a proper revolution and have gone into war with each other. So everything I said in the documentary turned out to be true.
Well, you know, we continue praying for Sudan.
Sure.
It's one of the things that I'm really, really fighting for. Because, I mean, when I interviewed Suad, you could see her pouring down.
I know, it's sad.
You know, because she has, by the way, like, your family still there?
Yeah, of course. Of course, most of them have left, but I still have a lot of family members that are...
Like, do you talk to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to talk to them because of the communication, but I hear about their whereabouts. My dad stayed. My dad's a dual British Sudanese citizen. When the war started, immediately I got him a flight out of there. He refused to get on the plane. He wanted to stay and support his community.
Oh, man.
And to defend his house. He goes, if I leave, they'll ransack the house, they'll take everything. Respectfully, they were going to do that regardless. He's an old man.
Yeah.
So he stayed. The RSF beat him up, hit him with the butt of a gun.
Oh, man.
Stole his car, destroyed the house, took everything in the house. And then when there was nothing left, after 7.5 months, he left. So I heard a lot about what it was like under RSF control from my dad, and it's just atrocious. Because when this situation happens, you forget that people that have beef with their neighbors, they use the situation to say to the RSF, oh, this person is spying for the Sudanese army. It brings out the very best of people and the very worst of people. Yeah. So it's not very good. In the Sudanese armed forces control outside of El-Fasher, but in Khartoum, Port Sudan, and Al Jazeera and others, there's the absence of violence right now because RSF has been kicked out. But the situation's lack of water, lack of electricity, the Sudanese army is the government, but they're obviously occupied fighting. So they're not providing the very basic services that the people need. We have a, I don't know if I should mention this on camera, but I'm going to. Like I said, I did a fundraiser and I'm doing several. We raised some funds for the people of, I'll just say the area, I won't say the village.
Okay.
In case they get in trouble. But we raised some funds for the people of North Khartoum, a village in North Khartoum. The new appointed Prime Minister heard about the food that's been raised, came and did a photo op with the food that we'd raised. And so he brought no food himself to the people, but used the food that we'd raised and been like handing them out to the people.
Like he's the one who...
Yeah, which, you know, I'll try to take a nuanced approach to this. I don't think it was any malice. I don't think the government has, you know, anything at the moment to give to the people.
Okay.
So much is being diverted to the front line, to the armed forces to fight. But it just goes to show the terrible situation that people are in. Yeah.
Hey guys, as we're closing on the Sudan topic, pray for Sudan, support Sudan. There are many causes, you know, that are out there to support Sudan. Find them and help where you can, and boycott UAE. Boycott UAE, all right? I mean, you see all these Ferrari things, like this Formula One, always in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. I mean, we need to boycott UAE, because if we cripple UAE, then we cripple the RSF. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And also go to decolonizedsudan.org. There are many action points that, you know, people can be able to, you know, to support.
Sure.
Because Ahmed, I know, you know, like you come from there, and it's crazy. But we can do this together. We can do this.